The time is 8:45 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here is the news edited by Anjana Dodamgoda and read by Tilani Pires. The headlines. President Wickremesinghe says that there should not be any displaced person by 2025. The head of the state receives exclusive print of George Keats' best work. The golf festival happenings to boost tourism. The United Nations to assist reforms, digitalization and poverty eradication programs in Sri Lanka. The government initiates VAT exemption for Ayurveda products and medicines to lower healthcare costs. Navy deploys teams to aid flood victims in Trincomalee and Polonnaruwa. And on international news, Myanmar to free 9,652 prisoners on humanitarian grounds. And on sports news, veteran golfer Chanaka Pereira and Kaya Dalwata highest ranked from Sri Lanka. President Ranil Wickremesinghe has emphasized that the issue concerning the resettling of displaced persons cannot continue and that there should not be any displaced persons in the country by the year 2025. The head of state made these remarks while addressing the Jaffna and Kilinochchi district coordinating committee meeting held today. Wickremesinghe also instructed the relevant officials to draw up a plan to resettle all those who have been displaced. The George Keats Foundation recently gifted President Ranil Wickremesinghe a limited edition print of Keats' renowned work, Kangodi Ragini, a 1951 Sri Lankan painting, is a rare authentic representation of Keats' artistic ability, featuring vivid colors and modernist figures depicting his brief stay in India. The George Keats Foundation chose this masterwork, which had been hidden from the public view for nearly 3 decades, for limited edition prints in order to honor Keats' avant-garde aesthetic viewpoint and to make his creations more approachable for contemporary art enthusiasts. In view of this, 30 limited edition prints of Kangodi Ragini were created to fund the foundation's ongoing efforts to support Sri Lanka's visual arts community. President Wickremesinghe received a special presentation from representatives of the George Keats Foundation Board of Trustees, during which the President expressed his commitment to supporting the foundation's ongoing efforts and went over the initiatives that support local artists and their creativity. The United Nations Assistant Secretary General and United Nations Development Programme Director for Asia and the Pacific, Karni Vignuraja, expressed appreciation over the reforms undertaken for socio-political development in Sri Lanka and assured continuous assistance under the UNDP. When she called on Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena at the Temple Trees today, she lauded the Prime Minister's role in ensuring empowerment of downtrodden people of Sri Lanka. We highly appreciate your consistent policy to work for uplifting the marginalized people of the country that you have carried out that for the last 30 or 40 years, she said. She called on to discuss Sri Lanka's development programs related to policy reforms, digitalization, public sector modernization, climate change, green economy, water and other related development issues. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. During the South Coast peak season of January through March of 2024, the Golf Concerto series gives impetus to a symphony of heritage and contemporary festivals in art, food, literature and music. Leading Lankan and international culture makers will be headlining the event, speaking, presenting and creating on topics pertinent and inspiring to Sri Lanka and the global momentum in 2024, tourism authorities said. The festivals are independently led, with the coming together of a concerto of events organized by the amplify the positive economic and touristic impact of cultural programming to host communities and the country, being conceived by President Ranil Wickremesinghe and supported by the Presidential Secretariat, tourism agencies and the SLTDA and other ministries and local governmental bodies. The State Minister of Indigenous Medicine, Sister Jakodi, at a media briefing held at the Presidential Media Center today, announced a significant step towards reducing healthcare costs by exempting Ayurvedic products, medicines and industries related to indigenous medicine from value-added tax. The decision aims to make traditional medicine more accessible to the public. Additionally, the State Minister mentioned that the Cabinet has granted approval for the establishment of a special bureau dedicated to addressing issues affecting native doctors and ensuring the sustainability of the indigenous medicine system. The Sri Lanka Navy has stepped up relief efforts in flood-ravaged Trincomalee and Polonnaruwa districts following inclement weather, deploying teams to meet the daily needs of affected communities since 31st December 2023. Overflowing waters from the Mahavali River have inundated areas such as Kinya, Maila Panchaveli, Lanka Patuna and Sungavila in the Trincomalee and Polonnaruwa districts, leaving residents stranded and facing shortages of essential supplies. In response, the Navy event today mobilized 8 teams comprising personnel from the Rapid Action Boat Squadron, Special Boat Squadron and Navy Marines to lead the crucial transport facilities by small boats. Since 31st of December until today, the Navy has successfully transferred 1,408 flood victims in the Trincomalee and Polonnaruwa districts. Moreover, the Navy is ready to send out additional relief teams whenever the need arises. That ends the local news for now.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatma.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe says Sri Lanka has decided to deploy a Navy vessel at the Red Sea to prevent Houthi rebels from attacking ships blocking trade along the sea route. Addressing the Shilpa Abhimani 2023 event in Colombo yesterday, the President said Sri Lanka will deploy a Navy vessel at the Red Sea for a cost of 250 million rupees every fortnight. He pointed out that prices of goods may increase due to the various wars underway, especially in Ukraine and Palestine. The President further said ships have also stopped using the Red Sea route due to continuous attacks by Yemen's Houthi rebels, and the rerouting of these ships around South Africa will also indirectly increase prices of goods. President Wickremesinghe said therefore a decision has been taken for Sri Lanka to join the mission to protect against attacks by the Houthi rebels. The President's statement comes in the backdrop of a final warning issued by the United States and 12 allies to Houthi rebels yesterday to cease their attacks on vessels in the Red Sea or face potential targeted military action. That was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatma.
This is Watchlight. The epidemiology unit says the health authorities have decided to administer an additional vaccination dose against measles to infants aged between 6 to 9 months, and accordingly an MMR, measles, mumps, rubella supplementary immunization activity is scheduled to be held on the 6th of January at all immunization clinic centers in 9 high-risk health districts. The vaccination program will take place from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. in Colombo, Gampaha, Kalutara, Gaul, Matara, Kandy, Jaffna, Kurunegala and Kalmune health districts. Media sources encourage parents to vaccinate their infants to prevent the spread of measles, mumps and rubella. That came to you in Watchlight. Coming up, World News. World News headlines first. Myanmar to free 9,652 prisoners on humanitarian grounds. An Arctic blast brings extreme cold to Scandinavia while deadly flooding hits Western Europe. World's biggest cruise ship prepares for service. Myanmar's military government will release 9,652 prisoners, including 114 foreigners, under an amnesty to mark the country's Independence Day, state media reported yesterday. The Southeast Asian nation has been in turmoil since the military seized power in February 2021, reversing a decade-long democratic experiment and used deadly force to crush protests. With the intention of maintaining relations with other countries and on humanitarian grounds, 114 foreign prisoners will be pardoned, the military junta said in a brief announcement on state media. Authorities typically release some prisoners to mark the day when Myanmar declared independence from British rule. Some parts of Europe are experiencing an extreme start to the New Year's weather as some countries grapple with devastating floods while others have been plunged into extreme cold. An Arctic blast has brought some record low temperatures to northern Sweden and Finland, along with heavy snow causing chaos on the roads. Swedish Meteorological and Hydrological Institute Northern Sweden recorded minus 43.6 degrees Celsius yesterday, the lowest temperature in that location since records began in 1887. The world's largest cruise ship has made its way to Puerto Rico as it prepares to accept its first paying passengers. Locals and tourists in Ponce, Puerto Rico were given a sneak peek at the 1,198-foot-long, 250,800-ton pleasure cruiser named the Icon of the Seas as it took a break in port as part of its trial voyage necessary to gain its certification. The 20-deck vessel, 5 tons larger than the ill-fated Titanic, towered above the town on the southern coast of the Caribbean island. Back to the world news headlines. Myanmar to free 9,652 prisoners on humanitarian grounds. An Arctic blast brings extreme cold to Scandinavia while deadly flooding hits Western Europe. World's biggest cruise ship prepares for service. That ends World News.
Development News.
The Sri Lanka Air Force unveiled its brand new headquarters complex in Sri Javadhanapura Kotte. President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who is also the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, officially declared open the headquarters recently. The 10-story Air Force headquarters, seamlessly integrated into the combined defense headquarters complex, boasts modern infrastructure facilities like high-standard security systems, well-equipped office spaces, cafeterias, generators, water storage tanks, libraries and more. Each block within the complex is dedicated to a specific service branch, the Air Force, the Army and the Navy. The construction project, a testament to the dedication and expertise of the SLAF, saw 14 Air Force engineering officers and 1,400 airmen contribute under the direction of Air Vice Marshal Rohan Pathrage. That ends Development News. Moving on with Sports News. Sports golf veteran golfer Chanaka Perera and 15-year-old youngster Kaya Dalwata have achieved the highest ranking for Sri Lankans in the World Amateur Golf Ranking Leaderboard. Meanwhile, 15-year-old Rishan Algama secured the 752nd position during the year-end for 2023. Rishan Algama entered as the youngest player in Sri Lanka to top the WAGR leaderboard during 2023 with a peak rating of 584 in the world. Last month, he ended the year in 752nd position. He is also in the top of the 125 among the Asian golfers. That came to you in Sports News.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න as වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The Commercial Bank of Ceylon has announced customized green home loans for buyers of apartments at Capital Twin Peaks, a high-rise mixed development with luxury residential apartments in Colombo that has already been certified gold by the Green Building Council of Sri Lanka. A memorandum of understanding signed by the bank and the developer Capital Towers Limited commits the two organizations to provide buyers a series of significant special benefits that will facilitate the purchase of apartments and the enhancement of their eco-friendly potential. That came to you in Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න as වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Sri Lanka has been selected as one of the countries to get support from the UK's Blue Fund, Minister Bandula Gunawardena said, which is aimed at helping developing countries to protect the marine environment and reduce poverty. The Cabinet spokesperson, Dr. Bandula Gunawardena, said the government of Great Britain and Northern Ireland are leading in terms of ocean health. The Blue Planet Fund has been allocated £500 million according to the British government. The Cabinet approved the signing of a memorandum of understanding between Sri Lanka's Ministry of Environment and Government of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. That was economic news.
Weather report.
Several spells of showers will occur in the northern, north central and eastern provinces. Showers or thunder showers will occur at several places elsewhere during the night. Valley heavy showers, about 50 millimeters, are likely at some places in the Sabaragamu and Uva provinces and in Galle and Matara districts. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the western Sabaragamu and central provinces during the morning hours. That was the weather report, and now to end this news broadcast, the main points once again. President Wickremesinghe says that there should not be any displaced persons by 2025. The head of the state receives exclusive print of Keats' best work. The head of the state receives exclusive print of George Keats' best work. The Galle Festival happening to boost tourism. The United Nations to assist reforms, digitalization and poverty eradication programs in Sri Lanka. The government initiates VAT exemption for Ayurvedic products and medicines to lower healthcare costs. Navy deploys teams to aid flood victims in Trincomalee and Polonnaruwa. And on international news, Myanmar to free 9,652 prisoners on humanitarian grounds. And on sports news, veteran golfer Chanaka Pereira and Kaya Dalwata highest ranked from Sri Lanka. That ends this news broadcast, and now it's back to my two good friends as well as yours. That's Marila Vendot and Navidu, as usual, all set and ready in this brand new year to bring your favorites in music at your request, of course. So back to you, Marila and Navidu, who is, of course, with all smiles out there on the other side.